Hey, everyone. It's your friendly tax preparer, senior tax analyst here, Linda, and I am coming with some news because it's been a few days and I kind of I get to the point where I figure, people are hearing stuff on the news, so I don't necessarily have to come on, but then someone will ask a question, and when they ask a question, I then go into research mode or let me find out because I know what I've been hearing. But as you know, I like to eyeball stuff. So when I'm saying it, I know exactly what it is that I'm saying. So there's a few things I'm going to cover. I've already brought to you guys about the bill that is in the House for the emergency money for the people, which simply says that they're trying to get a bill passed that will give each individual with less stringent guidelines, each individual 16 years and up, $2,000 a month for up to 6 months, and then they will review and see if it's going to go to 12 months or how that's going to work. So we're still waiting to hear on that. I believe that it is going to be some type of payment. I don't think it'll be the full 2,000, um, but we'll see. So that's still in the play, and we haven't really heard anything. I've been trying to keep my ear to the ground on that. But we do know that today the bill for the PPP for small businesses, that is going to the president's desk. So that was passed by the House. It was passed by the Senate. I believe if my figures are correct, it's another $450 billion or trillion, yeah, billion, I think, dollars. So that's going to come out. And so those of you that are small businesses that applied for the loan and or still need to apply for the loan, you definitely want to make sure that you're getting to an SBA approved bank that gives this loan and get all your documents, because what I'm finding is that the banks they have their own little policy and it differs from bank to bank. And so if you already have an established relationship with the bank and they are an SBA approved lender, then you need to get with them and build on that relationship. So it's very important as a small business that you have a good relationship with your bank for times like this, because that's going to come into play. Okay. And so hopefully that'll get signed by the president, and that money will be then released to go out and get into the hands of the people. I know that I did the EIDL, which is the emergency disaster loan, and I'm still waiting to hear back from that to see if I get the $10,000 grant and then any additional funding for my small businesses. And I only applied for one because I figured that if they give it to me for the one, since I'm a solopreneur or a solo entrepreneur, sole proprietor is the real name for it. I can then allocate where that money is gone and how I'm going to spend it, and then be able to document where I actually spent that money so I can fall under the guidelines of it. And I know that someone on YouTube, I think his name is Max or something, he said that he already got his money. He got his last Thursday. And so, and I know that they ran out of funds. So I don't know if I got my application in before they ran out of funds, and I'm just kind of waiting to hear back. I don't know, but we'll see. And we'll see if I get it. And if I get it, I will come and let you guys know. But there's some other stuff that is coming into play, and so we're going to talk about that, because this, at the same time, the bill for the individuals going into, there is another bill to kind of, I guess, counter this bill, and it is the bill for, and when I say the bill going in for the individuals for the $2,000 a month, there's another bill that kind of says, okay, well, maybe if we don't do this, how about we do this? And this bill says that they want to, it's called the Rent and Mortgage Cancellation Act of 2020. And basically, what it's going to do is suspend the obligation to make residential mortgage and rental payments. The suspension with withstanding any other provision of the law, the obligation of each tenant household of a covered rental dwelling unit. Excuse me, I'm choking myself. Of a rental dwelling unit to pay rent for occupancy in such dwelling unit shall be suspended for with respect to such occupancy during the COVID-19 suspension period. Um, there will be a prohibitations or prohibition, sorry, on fines. No tenant or tenant household may be charged a fine or a fee for non-payment of rent in accordance with this paragraph. No debt. The tenant or tenant household may be treated as accruing any debt by reason of suspension of the contribution of rent under paragraph 1. And on repayment, no tenant or tenant household may be held liable for repayment of any amount of the rent contributed suspended under paragraph 1. So basically what they're saying is that they're going to suspend it for, and I believe the time frame is a year, and you cannot fine them for it. You cannot say that, okay, well, I'm just going to kind of keep the debt here and you're going to pay it when the year is up. You cannot ask them to repay any of that money. And there will be no reporting on credit scores. So their credit scores won't be affected. And this is for both rent and mortgage. For mortgage payments, the suspension I'm going to read the wording for paragraph 1 so you can kind of understand. Notwithstanding any other provision of the law, the obligation of each mortgager or a covered residential mortgage loan to make mortgage payments of principal and interest that become due during COVID-19 suspension period is hereby suspended. And the requirements and the prohibitions on debt, again, no mortgager under any covered residential mortgage loan may be held responsible for payment of mortgage payments suspended under paragraph 1 or treated as accruing any debt by any reason of suspension under the paragraph of the obligation to make mortgage payments. On foreclosure, a mortgagee under a covered residential mortgage loan or servicer for which mortgagee may not commence or continue any judicial foreclosure action or non-judicial foreclosure process of any action for failure to make payments due under such mortgage that is suspended pursuant to paragraph 1. On fines, penalties, and interest, no fees, penalties, or additional interest beyond the amount scheduled or calculated if the mortgagor made all contractual payments on time and in full under the terms of the mortgage contract in effect as of the commencement of COVID-19 suspension period shall be accrued. So again, what they're saying is that they're going to suspend the mortgage and they cannot be penalized if they decide to take part in doing so. They cannot accrue debt. If there's in foreclosure, that proceeding needs to stop. No fees or penalties or interest will be charged during this time period, and their credit will not be affected. And so basically what this is saying is that they're suspending rent because they're understanding that people are out of work. They're understanding that people are having a difficult time paying bills. And so they're trying to make it easier on people. And so again, This is in lieu of, some people are saying they're connected, that they're going to give the $2,000 per month and suspend the rent. But the way that I understand it and the way that I'm reading, that's why I like to put eyeballs on it, is that it's either the $2,000, but if that is too hefty of a bill, and I think I've already talked about that, so I'm not going to go back into that. But if that's too hefty of a bill, because you got to think about the type of money we're talking about to pay individuals $2,000, and you got to think about how many people are in America that are over the age of 16 that would get this $2,000 a month for 6 months. That's a lot of money. So they're saying if this is too aggressive, then maybe we can do this where we suspend the mortgage and the rent payments for a year. So if they're doing that, these are the things that you will not, as the individual taking participation in this, there are some things that cannot happen. Again, no interest fees, no penalties, no interest, no fees, no penalties, no interest, does not affect your credit score. If you're in foreclosure, that foreclosure has to stop, nor can you enter into foreclosure. If you are being evicted, that has to stop, nor can you enter into eviction. Now, there is a statement in here that talks about eviction for just cause. And so you would then have to go to your lease and your mortgage contract to see what that just cause would be, because that will still stand. So if you are doing things other than not paying, if there's other things that happen, like, I know some apartment buildings, there's a noise level thing. And if you go over that noise level, you could still be evicted out or cause an eviction to occur because of you breaking other things, but it will not be for non-payment. So I hope I'm making that clear. And then what the other flip side of this is that the Secretary of the Housing and Urban Development, which is HUD, shall establish and carry out a system to notify all tenants of covered rental dwelling units included. So HUD is who handles the Section 8s and all of that. Dwelling tenants described in Section 7(1)(b)(2), and all mortgagors under covered residential mortgage loans of the suspensions under paragraph 1 and subsection A and B of the obligations to make rental payments or mortgage payments respectfully, and their right to pursue legal action pursuant to section 3. In general, any individual aggrieved by adverse actions taken by a leaser or a mortgagee for exercising rights under section 2 may commence a civil action under this section against the leaser or the mortgagee violating such sections in appropriate United States District Court or state court not later than 2 years after such violation occurs, for damages under subsection. So if you're staying in the house and you tear it up and they come in and you haven't been paying your rent, but you tore up their house and there's some unacceptable things going on, they will be able to come back, and during that time they have up to 2 years to bring you and bring you to court. Okay, so damages, penalties, things of that nature, and there's a $5,000 in case of violation for the first violation, and $10,000 in case of violation for the second, and $50,000 for forfeiture of the property in case of violation that is the third or subsequent. So basically, those are the fines that will be imposed on those who take advantage of this and don't do the right thing. But there's also landlord relief fund. So they are understanding, I shouldn't say they are understanding that if you are a landlord and you're not getting paid rent, that there needs to be something, because there is still a mortgage and all of that needs to be paid. And so they are saying that the establishment, the Secretary of the Housing and Urban Development shall establish and manage a landlord relief fund to provide lessors payments under this section to reimburse such lessors for payments under covered residential mortgage loans suspended pursuant to section 2B. And so there's a whole application there on how they're going to get payments to this. So basically, what my understanding is that HUD is actually going to be paying the rent for the year, so the individual does not have to pay it or pay the mortgage for the year. Or, they're going to figure out whatever that mathematic calculation is going to be, and whatever that dollar amount is, that's going to be what is distributed by HUD. So IRS is not going to be the one doing this one. IRS will do it if we get another stimulus payment, but HUD would be the one that would be overseeing this mortgage and what is it called? Rent and Mortgage Cancellation Act of 2020. Okay, and then the Attorney General will be the enforcing leg of this, if you will, or enforcing arm of it. And again, like I said, there's a rent freeze. This is another thing that's going to really hurt, because if the landlords agree to this, they cannot raise the rent. Okay. The monthly rent for the dwelling unit may not be increased from the amount of such rent charged as of the date of the enactment of this act. And so basically, they're saying that this is going to be a 5-year period beginning with the initial receipt by the lessor of the payment. So if they agree to accept this payment, they will have to put a rent freeze, which is good for the individuals. They will have to put a rent freeze on that property for 5 years, and they will not be able to raise the rent for that 5 years if they accept these payments. And so that if they don't accept it, then they are not bound by it. Then there's just cause eviction. So they can't, after a year, say, okay, well, now I'm going to evict her because she didn't pay her rent, or I'm going to evict him because he didn't pay his rent for a whole year. They can't do that. But if there is just cause, like I said, you would have to look at your lease or your contract to see what just cause there are, because if there is just cause, they can go ahead with evictions. And then source of income discrimination. The lessor may not refuse to rent a dwelling unit or discriminate in the renting of a dwelling unit to a household based on source of income of such household, including income under the program Section 8 of the United States Housing Act of 1937, or any similar tenant-based rental assistance program. And so if the landlord decides to take the money, and their house is not a Section 8 house, and say the person moves out, and now they're trying to get someone else to come in, and the person comes in and says, oh, I have Section 8, if they accept this money, they're going to have to accept the Section 8 too. Okay. New vacancies, the lessor shall coordinate with the public and other housing authorities for jurisdictions, within which dwelling unit is located, to make the dwelling unit available upon any vacancies to household assisted, as described in paragraph C. So you will have to, sometimes you just, you go through your property manager and you just tell them, and they find someone. Well, now you're going to have to make it public, and that it becomes a house that you kind of lose your ability to rent to whom you want to rent, or choose who you rent to, because you have to now let everybody know that the house is available. So there's some issue there for landlords, because I get it. You don't want certain types of people, and sometimes you have bad experiences with certain subsets of people, and so now you have to open up your property to those people, and not everyone takes care of your property the way they should. There is, and this again is only the primary resident. So you own multiple houses like vacation homes and Airbnbs and all of that, you can only do it on your primary residence. And I think there are a lot of videos out there that really talk about this and go into this in a much more detail than I'm going into it. I will continue to read through this, and if there's something that I think I need to bring to your attention, I will. Especially once we see it getting closer to the fact that it is actually going. What time? Okay, I'm trying to look at my time because I'm not trying to be on here all day. So if there's some more stuff in there that I need to pull out, I will, just like I did with the payment. But I think most of the people that I'm talking to are individuals, and so you're concerned about, are you going to get more money? And the rent thing is good on that end, but the landlord part of it, you probably don't care too much about it. But if you're a landlord, you do care, and so I will read through that and see if there's some other juicy stuff that I can pull out of that. But I also want to talk about the more than 80 million Americans have received their economic impact payment, which is the stimulus payment. More payments are on the way, but the rollout for those checks have not been without hangups, and leading Americans to wonder if they are entitled to a stimulus. So if you're going on to the website and there's some bumps and things of that nature, below I've put in some links where you can check your payment status if you need to change or put in your banking information, so you can, instead of getting a check, you can get a direct deposit. That link is also there if you are a veteran or if you're on SSI or SSA and you want to get the money a little bit quicker. You can use the non-filer link. That everything is right there for you. I tried to make it very simple. Even this document that I'm reading from, I put the link to that. I believe in the document or in the video that I did about the stimulus or the economic impact payment, well, they call it the Emergency Money for the People Act. I put the link up, so if you want to actually go and read that, you can do that. And I will probably put up this link because I don't know if I put this in the description, but I will put it in. I'll update it with that link to that one also. So if you want to read about the landlord and the rent bill that is in it, both of these are in the House of the Representatives. I haven't heard, and I will check to see if it has moved into the Senate. But remember, the process is this. Step number one, it goes to the House of Representatives, and they hash it out and get it to a place where they want it to be. And then once it gets voted and passes, it goes then to the Senate. The Senate then does their scrutiny of it and their stripping and adding and taking away from it. And once they get to a place where they think there's something that they can vote on, then they vote on it. If it goes to the desk of the president, just like this PPP thing is, and so now he gets, either he can sign it and it goes into law and everything is good, or he can veto it. And if he vetoes it, it goes back to the Senate, and then it has to pass with 2/3 majority. If it passes with 2/3 majority, it overrides the president's veto, and then it would go into law. So that's what these other bills have to go through. So again, like I said in my last video, if you don't know the process of a bill, if you forgot that whole thing that they taught you in school, go look at Schoolhouse Rock. You can go right here on YouTube, I believe. Look at Schoolhouse. It's called I'm Only a Bill. And he's sitting on Capitol Hill, and he talks about the process of how a bill becomes a law. And so that's what you need to understand. That's what this is happening. So this, even though it's a bill that's being put into being put up for voting, that does not mean that that's going to be the actual law that gets passed. And so you want to keep your ear to the ground on that. But 80 million people have received their economic stimulus package or their economic impact payments or their stimulus checks. There are still more to come. They are rolling out. The checks have not been issued yet. They are saying that they probably won't start issuing those until early May. And so then it'll be weekly, and they're starting with the lowest AGIs and working their way up. So if you have a high AGI, just know that if you're waiting for that check, it's going to be a while. They said it'll probably take them till September to get everybody their money. I do know that they are still processing even direct deposits now. So those of you that have children, and if you get SSA and you have children, they will not know that you have children. So I suggest that you go to the non-filers and you put in your information so they can calculate your money, because they're going to send you $1,200 based on you getting SSA or SSI, and they're not going to know about your children because you didn't file a tax return. So you definitely want to go there and put that in. I know that H&R Block is doing it for free. How do I know? Because I work for them. I know that they're doing it for free. So if you are not, we call it not required to file. If you are not required to file and you want to file for the stimulus check only, you can go there and they can do it, and it's electronic and all of that. So you definitely want to do that, because this is going to lead me into the next thing, which is this. The next thing is that the IRS is still processing tax returns. As of April 3rd, they have received 97.4 million tax returns and issued over 213 billion in refunds. So they are still processing tax refunds. I have a client who just called me and said, I got my refund from the federal. I haven't got it from the state, but I got it from the federal. And I said, well, that's not unusual, because they are doing that now. The state is taking a little bit more time, and they've been doing that for the past 2-3 years. They're taking a little bit more time, going through a little bit, because the state normally would come first and then the federal. But whichever way you get it, the government at the state level and at the federal level, they are still processing tax returns. Remember, the date has been extended to July 15th. So you have until July 15th to file your taxes, to get in those amended returns for 2016, and to pay if you owe. Okay, so you have that time, and that's a good thing, because some people, they wait to the last minute to, and let me give y'all a tip. Those of you that have a balance due, stop doing your taxes right at the deadline, because you have to pay that. Now, if you're doing that strategically and you are saying, okay, well, I know that I'm going to owe, and so I'm going to use up all of this time so I can put that money aside, so when I do file my taxes, I can make that payment. That's one thing. But if you are saying, well, I'm going to file it last because I don't want to pay and then when you come in and you find out how much you owe, you still don't have the money to pay, you're going to accrue penalties. Stop tipping the government. Stop giving them extra money because you are not taking the time to plan. Go get your taxes done now, and then you have until the 15th of July to figure out how you're going to get that money to them, if you're going to pay it off in full or if you're going to start a payment plan. I always say, try to pay that thing off so you stop paying these penalties and these interest fees to the government. You know, I have another client that the only time they make a payment is when they file their taxes. They need to stop doing that, because you're tipping the government, and they're adding penalties and they're adding interest, and they're getting more of your money. And you keep saying that you don't have the money to pay, but why pay more than you have to? It's a no-brainer to me. You want to get that taken care of, okay? So the IRS is still processing tax returns. the date has been extended to July 15th. And from April 15th, the IRS continues to suggest that that if you're still filing taxes, that you file electronically. If you must mail it in because you don't have your identity pin, or someone else claimed your child and you're trying to claim the child, so you got to send in supporting documentations. There is you can go to the website irs.gov forms and order your forms, or download your forms and fill them out if you're going to do it by hand. But they really want you to utilize either tax software or go to a tax professional. The way that they say it is go to your tax preparer, and then second, use tax software, or your last resort would be to file it free on the IRS, if possible. And again, those are just basic returns that you can file on there. You can't really file any complex returns on their website. So I would suggest, as I am a tax professional, that if you have a complex return, and when I say a complex return, that means you have dependents, you own your home, you got rental property, you got investments, you got, you're doing all of these things. Because a lot of you are out there trying to do your own taxes, and you guys are not doing them well because you're getting audited. And when you get audited, you got to come to me anyway, right? Because you don't really understand that aggressive letter that they sent to you, or you still try to do that on your own, and eventually you end up saying, look, I need some help. Okay, so get the help that you need, and don't be worried about paying the little bit of fee that you have to pay, because even if you use TurboTax, you got to buy the software, right? You got to pay for it either way. So I would say go to someone who knows the law and who's going to benefit you. And a good tax preparer is going to benefit you, not harm you, not hurt you. Now, if you went exempt and you made $100,000 last year and you went exempt for the whole year, there's not a whole lot I can do for you. But if you had them take out the amount of taxes that they're supposed to take out, and you have, you own your home, you have rental properties, you give to charities and stuff, I can help you. I can use the law to help you so that you don't owe. So just know that. That's you want to know someone that knows what they're doing. Okay. And I was looking, what I was really looking for on their website is if they were, what they were going to do, because I know in July is when they normally start sending out their audit letters for, they normally do audit letters for like 2016 and through. A lot of people already got their 2016 audit letters, so 2017, 2018, and some letters for 2019 will be going out. But it didn't really say that, and I don't think they really publicized that, but the practitioner line is shut down, which is the line that I would use to get information, to get insider information. But the practitioner line is shut down, and I haven't had an opportunity to reach out to my friends that work at the IRS, but I think I'm going to do that because I want to give you guys a heads up that, if you're going to be audited, this is when you can expect to start to, you can anticipate receiving those letters, and you may want to get ahead of it. Make sure you know where your taxes are. Make sure you have all your supporting documentations. If you have children, make sure you know where their birth certificates are, their school records, their medical records, their social security, all of that, because that's what you're going to need. That's what they're going to be asking you for. If you had covered California and you didn't report it, they're going to want to see that paperwork. So they send out a letter and they say you don't need to amend your return, but you do need to include that covered California. So if you haven't got your refund yet and you had covered California, that's the reason why you didn't include it in your refund or on your return. And you will get a letter from them saying, hey, look, we need that information to move forward. And so you definitely want to get that done. The tax advocate services are still open. The individuals can call on the 800 number um, to get to talk to someone. Just know that you're going to have longer waiting times. And then there is an automated phone number for people who are trying to get information about the economic impact payment or the stimulus payment. Hold on, I just read that wrong. Okay, let me do it this way. Automated phone lines, which handle most taxpayer calls, also remain available during this period. Some tax compliance lines also remain available. IRS phone lines supported by customer service reps for both taxpayers and tax professionals are not staffed at this time to check on regular tax refund status via the phone. You can go to the website and check on your refund status, and you can go to the rest of the website to check on your stimulus. So Get My Payment is for the stimulus payment or the economic impact payment. Where's My Refund is for your tax refund. So don't switch the two. The Get My Payment is for the economic impact, and Where's My Refund is for your tax refund. So if you filed your taxes, you can go online and see where it is in that process. But you can also call 800-829-1954. Again, 800-829-1954 if you want to check in on the phone lines. But there is no phone line for economic impact payment, okay? So you want to check on your tax return refund, you could call 800-829-1954, okay? And then the priority, like I said, the CAF unit, and for people like me who is a practitioner, that is due to limited staffing, that is still closed. So if I want to call, I have to call the main line just like you do, and I normally could get through a little bit quicker than you, but right now I don't have that availability. However, if I need to call them, I will call them, because I have clients that are, dealing with audits and things like that, and we need to follow up on some stuff. So hopefully this has been helpful to you. I will be back tomorrow with some more. And like I said, if there's some more in that law about the rent and mortgage suspension, I will bring it out to you. If there are things that I think that I should have covered that I didn't cover, I will cover that for you. Hopefully, I will also know if the PPP got passed and the president signed off on it, because I know it's on his desk. So sometime later tonight, it should be signed and ready to go, hopefully. So I'll bring that update for my small business and my entrepreneurs that I know that follow me. Remember, my name is Linda. I am a professional tax preparer. I go to school. I'm right now taking some coursework to update everything so I can be ready for next year's tax season. And I'm also studying to become an enrolled agent. And so if you know anything about that, that means I'm going to be licensed with the IRS to do taxes, which means that I have proven myself as a worthy opponent of the IRS and the state and all of that. So I live here in California, but I do have the ability to do taxes in all 50 states, as well. Federal is federal, and then I can do the individual taxes. I have my CAF for California, or not my CAF, but I have my California CTEC number, and I also have my New York State license number. And then some of the other states, because I don't live there, I don't have to have a quote unquote number, but I can do their taxes. So if you live in any of the 50 states and territories that of the United States, you can ask me a question, including Puerto Rico, and I can give you some guidance on that, because I am equipped to do that. So if you have any questions, I want you to go ahead and put those questions below. If you are a clergy, if you are a small business, if you are a solopreneur or a solo proprietor, a sole proprietor, you're starting a single person LLC, if you have a trust, if you have, things of that nature, those are my specialties. And so I want to be able to help you and not hinder you. I want you to be able to get everything that you deserve and need to get. And I also do what I call second looks, which means I can go and look at the past 3 years of your taxes. And I can tell you if you left some money on the table. I can tell you if you got everything that you deserve. Most times that's the case. Sometimes it's a break even. And then sometimes it's you got something you wasn't supposed to get. And you rather me audit you than the IRS because you look better giving it back before they come for it. You know what I'm saying? That's just kind of the way it is. So I like to be beneficial to my clients. I like to be helpful to my clients. And the only way that I know to do that is the reason why I started this channel, is to get the information to those that need the information. And that's you. So if you have any questions, please, please, please type the questions below or hit me up in my inbox on YouTube or on Facebook. And I will get back to you with the answer. If I don't know it, I won't get back to you until I know it. And when I do, it's going to be you and me, chick, dude, whoever you are. And then I may do a video on it. So if I feel that other people might need to know that information too. So hopefully you're having a good day and you're staying safe and you're staying at home. I know some states are opening up. And my caution to that is that the virus is still out there. So make sure you're washing your hands. Make sure that you are taking care of you, because there are people around you that you love and you don't want to be the one who, you may not get sick, but they may. So just be careful. Just be careful out there. If you're going to go out and start hanging out with folks, and some of these states are opening up. I know California is not one of them that's opening up yet. I hear that they're looking at May, and even then I'm skeptical, because I'm like, as long as it's in the air. And then they're talking about in the winter when it gets cold, it may break out again. So yeah, no. Be careful, you. That's all I can say. Take care of you. You guys be blessed, be encouraged, and know that I am here for you with your tax questions. If you have any questions, some comments, some concerns, I'm going to be doing a video in the next week or so on how to fill out your W-4, because a lot of people are getting screwed with that. They don't have it right, and they're not having enough taxes taken out, or they're having way too many taxes taken out. And like I said, why tip the government? Why tip the government? Why give them more than you have to when you can buy food and shoes and hair? I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.